What is up, YouTube? What is up, Instagram? Hope you guys are having a good Monday night. We're doing the Matt McKeever Monday Marijuana Madness as normal. So if somehow you guys haven't hung out with me already some Monday night in my bathroom, just a quick little heads up. Every single Monday night, 9:20 Eastern Standard Time, we go live here, just hang out with you guys. Essentially, treat this as an Ask Me Anything. We really just kind of go off on random tangents. Quick little disclaimer, because I still think it's valuable. I know some people are bored of it, some people think it's unnecessary, but just for perspective's sake at least, for myself, I never smoked weed until I was 25. I think if you read a lot of the medical journals, or at least summaries of medical journals, you'll often come to the conclusion that it seems like once your brain's relatively fully formed, very few downsides and potentially some pretty cool upsides to marijuana. And I definitely think it's one of the better vices. Certainly results in a lot less violence compared to, say, vices such as alcohol. So if you look at, the different studies in regards to how many violent incidences occur under the influence of alcohol versus pretty much any other substance, you'll see what's up with society. So anyways, I forgot an ashtray. I'm gonna have to go get an ashtray, guys. I'll be right back. Otherwise, hit me up with your questions and we'll get into it. All right, and we're back. Hey, Mikey. Yeah, Project Mayhem number 4 is underway. So if you guys have been sleeping on that, get on it. First troll of the day on Instagram. So I see a question about HST and flipping real estate here in Canada. Obviously, I'd recommend you always talk to a tax professional, talk to your tax accountant to get guidance there. In general, one of the things that's going to come into consideration is, are you in the business of flipping, right? So if you're regularly doing, because this is also something that people get caught up on in regards to capital gains versus active income, right? So one of the more common problems I see is people think that their flipping should be capital gains tax, but they're actually in the business of flipping real estate. And so because of that, it's actually going to be taxed as active income rather than capital gains income. And now, depending upon whether you're flipping in a corporation or outside of a corporation, that can have a major impact on your tax strategies and even just how much of your money you get to keep. So food for thought there. But yeah, so I'm not going to go too far down a HST rabbit hole on a smoking live stream, but yeah, I think I would really start with talking to an accountant there, Susan, and just getting their perspective and really laying out, one, what you're doing and where you plan to go as a business, because it's also important to keep in mind, not just where we are right in this moment, but where we plan to go as a business owner as well. All right, what's going on YouTube? What did I do today? Lyndon was working on bathroom renovation and new construction project. What did I do today? So Mondays are definitely kind of a team day for us. So started off, got up around 6:30, did a little bit of reading, just a little bit of stretching, stuff like that. Then we do a team workout. So my entire team, or half the team at least, jumps on a Zoom call every weekday at 7 a.m. We do a team workout, which is just body weight exercises until 7:30ish. Then at 7:30, I would have started reading a book. Probably read a book for about half an hour. Then got into just some paperwork and email correspondence and stuff like that from 8 till 8:30 or 8 till 9ish. Then had a shower. Then at 9:30, jumped on my first Zoom conference call of the day. Then at 9:50, jumped on my second Zoom call. Then at 10:15, jumped on my third Zoom call. And after that, I think I got into some more paperwork and some Cashflow Tribe work and stuff like that. Then at 10:30, I had another Zoom call, and then at 11, a Zoom call. And then from like 12:20, 12:40, 1:30, 1:45, 2 p.m., all different Zoom calls. And so that's essentially just like how the week always goes. We're like, give the team the marching orders for the week, make sure everyone's in a good spot, then kind of jump on to the next thing. So that's pretty much how this week got started with Monday. And then this afternoon, really just working on some new education material for Cashflow Tribe, and then did a Cashflow Tribe Ask Me Anything at 7:30. So if you guys didn't know, every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, before I go live with you guys, I go live with Tribe, and usually spend about an hour and a half just doing deal analysis. So just literally break out the spreadsheet live over Zoom. I'll do deal analysis on your deals and other Cashflow Tribe member deals. So that's kind of how this Monday shaped up so far. Hey Matt, how do you find recently sold comparables? Is there a website that gives you access to recently sold units and pictures in that area? There's no good resources in Canada that are really comprehensive. So most Canadian investors will have what they call a comp realtor, and a comp realtor is a realtor that will pull that information for you from the local realtor board, as well as from Geo Warehouse, and from those two different sources, you can then kind of aggregate all the data you want. We need a new Matt McKeever for the small people. Did you guys see Ye tweeted out he's going to run for president? This is lemon haze. It actually was like really, really potent when I took it out of the bag to grind it up. So I haven't smoked this in like a couple of weeks. It's good. All right, what else is going on in the comments section? Appreciate all the love there. Yeah, smash the like button if you guys are enjoying this. Mikey's saying, for you that haven't been on a live chat with Matt, I highly recommend it. So much knowledge, it's game changing. Thanks, man. Is there going to be a Project Mayhem 5? Most likely. And this apparently cut out because of my internet connection. No idea if you can still see me, IG. That's fun. All right, well, YouTube, I'm still here. What's up? Apparently, IG just gave the fuck up. Come on, man. Fucking lame. Fine, we'll go off Wi-Fi. Just eat all the data. What's going on? All right, let's try this again. Sorry, YouTube. I know this can't be the most entertaining. Oh, come on. All right, sorry, YouTube. What else is going on here? What do you think about cottages, vacation properties as a real estate investment? Hey, Nate. I'm personally quite attracted to the idea of vacation or rental property, like vacation rental properties or destination rental properties, things of that nature. I think the biggest consideration you have to give to vacation rentals is what's your primary goal with a vacation rental? I think there can be two different goals. The first goal with a vacation rental can simply be, I want a vacation property that sometimes sort of pays for itself or reduces the net cost. Then on the flip side is I want an investment property that occasionally I can use as an end user as a vacation property. And I think those are two different situations. And so you should really be aware of which strategy is right for your overall goals. For me, right now at this stage of my life, if anything, I would primarily be attracted towards a vacation rental, like a rental property that can occasionally be used as the vacation versus a vacation property that occasionally is a rental. Just because I'm not going to go visit it too often, but for those of you that didn't know, I grew up near the Grand Bend area, so definitely love the idea of having like a beachfront property, or my aunt and uncle growing up had an amazing cottage up in the Muskokas, so it would also be fantastic to be able to have a Muskoka property. At the end of the day, cottages, vacation rentals, things of that nature, they certainly have, experienced a pretty bullish run over the last decade or so. And right now, what I'm hearing from other investors and realtors in that space is that, if anything, demand's pretty robust right now for things like RVs, boats, as well as cottage and vacation rentals. Because a lot of people now are starting to view domestic travel under a different light than, say, they were looking at domestic travel, say, 6 months or a year ago before COVID-19. I think that's a really interesting development. Now, whether we see this become a long-term trend or not is very much so to be determined, but I do think it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more Canadians deciding to travel home, right? Like travel between the provinces rather than internationally. And if that's the case, again, I think we could see a lot more demand for vacation rentals and things of that nature. And that could, in fact, end up helping out websites like Airbnb that originally took a huge kick to the teeth because of COVID-19. So overall, I think vacation rental properties are always an interesting play. If you've seen some of the videos I've done with Kyle Ford, he does some great BTB structured deals in regards to vacation and beachfront properties. I'm very jealous of some of the deals he's been able to structure in that regards. In fact, I certainly want to get a chance to implement one of those strategies at some point. So we're always looking. Recently, there was someone that had a very interesting cottage in Muskokas, but I got a little bit scared once COVID-19 started happening. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to tie up a lot of my resources into a vacation rental at that point. So I didn't. But I could definitely see the value in it and why some people would be attracted to moving into vacation rentals at this point. Also think it could be cool to house hack vacation rentals, right? You could, if you're buying a 4-season cottage, you could stay in the off season and live very affordably, very low impact on your financials, and probably, during peak season, pay for the property year round and get to live there 6 months of the year free. So there's some really interesting opportunities with house hacking and vacation rentals, things of that nature. Hey, what's up, Mark Smith? Hey, what's up, Mina? Kathy's saying she bought a van to drive across Canada. That's awesome. I love the tiny house movement, the van living, the bus living, all that stuff. At what point should a real estate investor pay down the debt off its rental property to maximize cash flow and be debt free? Antoine, I don't think, or Anton, sorry, I don't think that you should really be focused on paying down your debt until you're at the stage where you're no longer looking to grow your portfolio. So if you're just kind of at a maintenance stage as an investor, then I think it can make sense to consolidate, start paying down the debt, and just increasing the cash flow. But for a lot of investors, they're going to be in the acquisition phase, and certainly a lot of the investors watching my content streams are going to be in the acquisition phase. So if you're in the acquisition phase, you got to understand that debt is your friend, or you need to find a way to make debt your friend. And what I mean by that is simply, debt is our friend when it's making us money. So you just need to make sure that you've got a consistent manner to earn a greater return than the cost of the debt you're borrowing. And if you can do that, you've got a great business model that you should continue to scale up to the upper limits of either your desires, the business model's capabilities, or your personal bandwidth to do so. So hope that helps. I'm actually in the process of buying a revenue property in North London. What do you think of that area in terms of appreciation, or what areas do you recommend in London? I think that right now London, Ontario pre-COVID was definitely seeing a boom in pricing, right, and appreciation. We were one of the fastest appreciating markets in Canada. We were the 5th fastest growing municipality in Canada as well. So, yeah, I think in Canada, if not Canada, Ontario. I'm pretty sure it's in Canada though. And we were seeing a 10% plus appreciation. So, who knows how COVID-19 and post-secondary institutions kind of delaying or reducing the need to be physically present at classes, how that will impact London, Ontario's real estate market individually. In general, North London seems to always be a high demand area. It certainly seems to see strong appreciation. For me, from a rental perspective, it's often hard to cash flow in North London compared to, say, areas adjacent to downtown or adjacent to Fanshawe College or in the east end or south end of the city. But that's not to say it's a bad investment choice. So, yeah, the only thing I'm going to caution is that if appreciation is your only business model, if that's really the only way you plan to profit, understand that, to each their own, but I think that that's a riskier proposition than the average person realizes. And it's risky for 2 reasons. 1, because you don't have direct control over appreciation. And 2, because you don't have the same liquidity or resiliency in your business model. So the moment something starts to go off kilter, off course, off plan, now you're in a constantly reactive state. And this can be really distracting for a lot of people, and it ends up pulling a lot of their bandwidth, if not a lot of their resources, towards solving that problem or trying to avoid that problem, rather than focused on growing or scaling their business. And so I really encourage a lot of investors that especially want to grow fast or make a lot of money with real estate investing to have robust business models. A robust business model means you've got some fat margins, or you've got a deep moat, you've got some sort of competitive advantage. Those are things that are going to allow you to be able to absorb, unforeseen circumstances or, costs that you weren't expecting, things of that nature. We can move faster and break things faster when we've got a fatter margin because we don't have to look around every corner. Whereas if you've got a leaner business model, if you've got leaner margins, you need to be able to look around every corner before going around because you can't afford to take an unexpected hit. Whereas if we've got fat margins, we can move fast and break things. All right. Awesome. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Hope you guys are all having a good Monday night. Mikey's asking, Matt, if you could have one mentor, alive or dead, who would you pick and why? If I could have one mentor, alive or dead, who would I pick and why? I don't know. There's a lot of interesting people. There's a lot of people's opinions I respect in different fields. There's definitely certain practitioners that I really respect. As far as a mentor though, because a mentor is more than just necessarily being good at something. It's also about being able to, share or expand it. I don't know if I've got a go-to mentor answer, but certainly, people I respect like Elon Musk, I think he's truly exceptional. But again, I don't know if he'd make a good mentor. I feel like I would just be a waste of his time, and it would just, I feel like it would be a waste of his resources to mentor me. I would literally just feel guilty the entire time, like I'm stealing from humanity if I was being mentored by Elon Musk. So unless I was just 24/7 live streaming that, I think the guilt would just be too much to want him as a mentor. So I want to shoot lower almost, for fear of just the negative impact I would have on humanity by taking away a moment of his time. #fanboy. All right, what's going on? YouTube. In Canada, should decent housing be a right or a privilege, in your opinion? So, Dave, the real problem there is we're even going to have to define what is decent. Because, again, that maybe sounds eye-rollingly obvious, but I think a lot of people would have different definitions of what decent is. And that's where, when we get into rights versus privileges, things can get really muddy fast if we can't be very clear on whether someone has a right or a privilege. In general, though, I think that there needs to be certain incentives in the system in order to just drive us to all be our best. Like, without some competition, without some compulsion forward, a lot of us just become victims to our lesser selves. I know that's definitely true of myself, at least. And I see it with the people in my ecosystem all the time. So I think that any system that wants to get the most out of humanity needs certain incentives and disincentives for types of behavior. And I think overall the free market is one of the better systems that we've had. And I think that there's a version out there that's probably better than what we have today. But I think too often people assume that what we have, like, which is kind of a crony capitalism, let's be serious. It's not necessarily fair to judge all capitalism or libertarianism or just liberty-oriented politics in a negative light because of that. So I think where it really comes down to is, I think something's been lost where we don't feel the same connection to other individuals. And it's really unfortunate because I'd rather see it being more of a personal choice for individuals that want to take on that issue or that problem, to take that under their wing and really drive change and support the change they want, versus, like, I guess something like decent housing to me is just so hard to unpack. And certainly Matt isn't going to be able to do this justice. So I just realized I'm rambling, so I'm just going to wrap myself up right here. But I guess one last thing is, overall, I prefer things like a universal basic income to just like free housing. So the weird thing is, well, very libertarian, very free market oriented, if we're gonna have a safety net and stuff, things like universal basic income, I'm curious about, but I think it needs to be very low. So I still think there needs to be big incentives. I think, though, overall, it's not that we have affordability issues, it's that we've got a lot of mental health issues and substance abuse issues, and we don't have the right infrastructure in those areas to solve that. So, like, I don't think we've actually got like a real homeless problem. I think what we've got is a mental health issue problem. And I'm basing that upon what I understand to be both the facts as well as my anecdotal experiences. But I'm sure everyone has their own facts and anecdotal experiences to share in that regard. So also, I'm just nervous when people ask questions like that because it kind of feels like I'm being baited, and either way, I'm going to answer on the wrong side. And in general, I prefer not to be divisive when possible. Why don't you have more female representation on your show? I don't know. I just interview my friends and real estate investors. Go ask the empresses of real estate. They've been rebooking and delaying booking with me for probably half a year now. So again, it's just often scheduling conflict issues, but those are 5 ladies that are crushing it when it comes to real estate investing. And they've supposed to be on my channel multiple times, but they're hard to get a hold of. So again, I feel like I actually do a pretty good job of representing all sorts of people with different family sizes, no family, different ages, different racial backgrounds, different sexes, different provinces, different investment strategies. In general, my goal is to be very much show the entire spectrum of real estate investing, because I think until you see someone that reminds you of yourself, it's very hard to believe that you're capable of achieving that task. And so that's why it was so important to me to launch my YouTube channel and do what I do. So I legit think that we do a better job than most. But again, I'm also not just like one of those people that's inclusive for inclusive sake. It's all just a meritocracy in my opinion. And so there's a lot of badass ladies that are crushing it. They come on my YouTube channel, and it's awesome. And same with there's a lot of badass dudes that are crushing it, and they come on my YouTube channel, and it's awesome. And there's badass couples, and they're crushing it, and they come on my YouTube channel, and it's awesome. The key is just become a badass real estate investor, and you're always welcome on my channel. Spend less, invest less. I would definitely agree with spend less. I recommend at some point in time being able to hand off your portfolio to property managers, because ideally there's going to become a point where you value your time to such a degree that it just makes sense to pay someone else to take over the day-to-day management. So I'm not saying that you have to, but certainly whenever you run your numbers, I would strongly encourage you to put into your spreadsheet or into your analysis a property management fee. In general, I like using a 10% property management fee, and what I consider or include in that 10% property management is really 8% property management, a 1% snow removal fee, snow removal because we're in Canada, and 1% lawn maintenance. So in essence, I'm doing 2% for kind of groundskeeping and things of that nature, which may get paid to the property manager or may get outsourced to another company, and then 8% to the property management. And the way I kind of run my numbers is like the most basic repairs and maintenance would be kind of buried in that property management 8%. So in a perfect world, you're maybe paying closer to 7%, 1% for like just the bare minimum R&M, and then 1% snow removal, 1% lawn. And then outside of that, I'll usually do like a 5% vacancy and bad debt combined, and then a 5% repairs and maintenance. And I may adjust that repairs and maintenance depending on the property, its age, condition, my expectations. Sometimes the properties where you're like, I know we're going to be spending a lot month to month just because of tenant profile or age of building or deferred maintenance from the previous owner. And other times they're like, oh no, this building's on point, like it's really been brought up or it's in great shape, the bones are strong, things of that nature, the tenants are fantastic, and I don't expect to actually incur a lot of repairs and maintenance. So I'll play with that number a little bit, but overall those are a lot of the rules of thumb that I use when putting in my initial numbers. And then you can always update once you get quotes or other things. Got a question here. Hey, I'm totally new to real estate investing, but of curiosity, what's your opinion on the recession? I can't see the whole thing though. I don't know how to see the whole question. Weird. Okay, but anyways, you're asking the recession and the real estate market, I'm guessing. So overall, recession, the real estate market, all those different things, no one's got a crystal ball. And I wish I had one. I wish I had 100% accuracy on my crystal ball, but I absolutely do not. So first things first, we just need to be aware of that. Secondly, I really like investing for fundamentals. And so when we're talking about fundamentals, I focus on affordability of my rental units. So if you guys, some of you that have been following me a while, you're maybe sick of this spiel. Those of you that are new to my shit, hopefully you really enjoy this next little bit. So I focus on affordability when looking at my rental units here in London, Ontario. Now, my average 2-bedroom apartment, probably don't try to rent that out for $1,200 a month. Now, $1,200 a month is actually quite affordable for anyone living in my market because minimum wage here is about $15 an hour. Now, the average full-time worker is considered to work 2,000 hours a year, or $15 at 2,000 hours is $30,000. Now, when we're looking at that, Stats Canada shows us the average Canadian spends about 30-40% of their income on shelter. So again, if we kind of reverse engineer these numbers, we come to the conclusion that, well, 30-40% of $30,000 is like $10,000, $12,000, means that one full-time minimum wage earner could essentially afford like an apartment for about $800,000 a month. And so if you've got a 2-bedroom, I would argue that that could become a 2-person household, which means 2 people working minimum wage full time could easily afford to rent out that apartment. And what's also great is, well, not great, but trying to make, lemonade out of lemons here. With COVID-19, a lot of governments got to essentially practice a backdoor UBI or universal basic income. And with that, here in Canada, we saw CERB. CERB was like $2,000 a month. Well, that's essentially kind of the government telegraphing what they consider to be the bare minimum survival rate. So if anything, we could probably expect eventually to see different social programs support or supplement individuals up to that level. So again, all of a sudden, like if CERB's $2,000, my $1,200 two-bedroom apartment, while not ideal for someone in that income category, isn't outside the realm of possibility. So again, from an affordability standpoint, I feel very strong in a market like London that only has, a 2% vacancy rate currently, or at least pre-COVID it did, that we're not going to see a dramatic change in rent prices to the negative, simply because demand is high and affordability is there. So because of those two factors, I feel pretty strong that I'm in a good position, recession or no. Whereas people that are maybe in the high end, executive rental space, the people right now we're looking to rent a mansion, if you guys didn't know. So if anyone knows of a sweet mansion in Toronto around the $10,000 a month or a little bit lower range, hook your boy up. But outside of that, that price point, there's probably not a lot of people right now shopping around for that during COVID-19. Probably most people are trying to play more defensive. And so because of that, I think that landlords in that category are probably going to feel more pain, I suspect, than say landlords in my category. So I hope that makes sense. Hey Matt, would you recommend buying real estate in the US? I recommend buying real estate in any market where you've got a competitive advantage. But if you don't have a competitive advantage in your real estate market, well then, I'm going to be looking for a JV partner that can grant me or give me that competitive advantage. All right, just checking out some YouTube comments. Best real estate market in Ontario right now. That's obviously a loaded question, depending upon what you're looking for. If you're looking for cash flow and appreciation, I think Southwestern Ontario was doing great. You can get real cash flow here in Southwestern Ontario, as well as both Windsor and London were experiencing 10% appreciation rate. Now that definitely can't last forever, but that is a pretty robust real estate market. So I think there's potential here where you can still find 1% rural properties. However, if you're looking to flip real estate, I think really any market, there's opportunities to make profit and flip across Ontario. What I really focus on is personally, when it comes to flips, I think the strongest business model in this market, with kind of the uncertainty COVID brings, is entry-level properties, so starter homes and things of that nature. So here in London, that would be anything, 350, 400,000 and below, I think is a great price point to be flipping in. Whereas if you're in Hamilton, maybe it's anything below 450,000, or if you're in Durham, maybe it's anything below 500,000, or if you're in Rexdale, maybe it's anything below 600,000. I'm just throwing out kind of random numbers there and guesstimating where I think the starter home price is. But again, if you become mildly acquainted with your real estate market, you should be able to figure that out. No problem. Happy to answer questions, guys. Would you ever start a management company considering your increase in portfolio? Yeah, great question, Lyndon. So would I consider starting a property management company? I've considered multiple times, but straight up, full disclosure here, guys, I think property management companies are honestly I think they're one of the worst businesses. It's a lot of work. It's low margin. There's a lot of competitors. It's a low barrier to entry. Every mom and pop can compete with you. So it's often a race to the bottom in pricing as well as services. Now, that's not to say I don't know property managers that do well, or real estate investors that have been able to build kind of a turnkey rental portfolio business and be the managers for it. But I certainly think just straight up your run-of-the-mill property management company, I think it's a tough business. So hats off to the people that make it work, but it's not a niche that I've given a lot of serious consideration to, because I just think it's so competitive, and especially because a lot of small landlords will just choose to self-manage, which is a free price point. You can't compete with free. So yeah, property management's crossed my mind, but every time I look at it, I just can't see a way that I've got a competitive advantage or an expectation to profit to the degree I'd want. So I'm going to chase other active business opportunities versus a property management company. Yeah, that being said, property management is a critical key success factor to your real estate business. If you're trying to grow a scalable portfolio, you definitely need great management. So in one of my companies, we are hiring full-time employees that do our property management. So we are insourcing it, but I'm not doing any outsourcing for people. Just because the price I charge just wouldn't be competitive with what competitors would charge. I don't want to charge too much because property management's a pain in the ass, in my opinion. So, don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but that's my opinion. Kind of forgot we were supposed to be smoking weed here. Matt, does Casey Wong own or have an interest in all the properties he manages? I don't know every property Casey manages. I think the vast majority he does. I don't think he'd be actively looking for like property management gigs at this stage in his career. What do you think about investing in St. Thomas, say buy and hold strategy? Yeah, I think St. Thomas has a lot of potential. As the ads say, what do the ads say? You can live 40% more in St. Thomas or something like that? Cost of real estate's lower. The cost of living's lower. So yeah, I think St. Thomas is a promising market. I think if anything, again, with telecommuting becoming more and more popular, St. Thomas might even become mildly more attractive, right? For a lot of millennials that can telecommute multiple days a week into work. I could see the draw towards St. Thomas and that smaller town living. But that doesn't just hold true for St. Thomas, right? Also holds true for things like, Grand Bend or Port Stanley or even Lucan or Burr, like Dorchester. All those smaller communities potentially could see some benefits to if we really do see a general transition with the labor force. How do you get financing when buying multiple properties? You ask. That's the key to getting anything in life, guys, is asking for it, consistently asking for it from a lot of different people. Seriously, way too many investors are looking for a silver bullet, and it's really just about putting in the work. So you just need to go talk to a lot of people if you're trying to finance a bunch of deals at once. And then you need to make sure you got a good deal. Because again, if there's no real opportunity to profit, if there's no built-in equity or upside, understand it's always going to be an uphill trying to finance just the property, right? Financing a deal, that's another story. What are we saying, YouTube? What do you think about the Ottawa market and student rentals going forward? Student rentals, I think that's anyone's game right now. So I think that there's uncertainty there. And so whenever there's uncertainty, there's opportunities to profit. But I don't know if that uncertainty is being fully baked into the market or not. So, I do think that the college experience and moving out on your own into a house with other students is almost a rite of passage in North American society. So even if somehow we saw a relatively dramatic drop in students that had to physically attend university, I think we could still see a certain level of demand for an extended period of time for those sort of accommodations. So if that thesis holds true, I think student rentals are fine either way. If not, then it really comes down to what post-secondary education becomes in a post-COVID world. Again, no one's got a crystal ball, so I would base my investing upon my personal thoughts towards that. For me right now, if you were asking, I think student rental real estate is. So I don't think it's that risky. I don't think it's that bad. I wouldn't be overpaying for properties. I really want to make sure my property's cash flow. I want to make sure I was using realistic rents. I wouldn't want to use inflated rents, things of that nature. But I also wouldn't be panic selling everything. So those are kind of my thoughts. I don't understand half these comments. White cocoa reference. Did I support the Ford government's Ontario, like scraping the Ontario high speed? I think the high speed would be cool, so I'm pro that. I think it's a giant government boondoggle, but they're going to do a boondoggle no matter what. We might as well get high speed rail out of it. Obviously, I'm very biased, so as a London, Ontario resident and real estate investor, a high speed rail connecting Windsor and Toronto or Windsor and Ottawa would be amazing. It would only have upside for this real estate market. So I'm all for it. If government's about to spend a shit ton of money on something, it might as well be high speed rail, in my opinion. Monorail. All right. What else is going on? What do you think about investing in the Niagara region? Yeah, Steve, I know a lot of investors doing well there with a variety of strategies. So I know some buy and hold investors doing well in the St. Catharines, Welland area. I know of investors doing great flipping in Niagara, St. Catharines, Welland area. Actually, Brandon recently just bought a 10-plex right in Niagara Falls. So yeah, I know a lot of people doing a lot of business there. So seems to be a very popular market right now. I think as part of the GTHA and the Greater Toronto Hamilton area and all that jazz, it's inevitable that that entire part of Ontario is just going to become more and more connected from a transit standpoint, which I think will create more and more demand for the fringe parts of that giant metro area. So I think Niagara Falls is a very attractive market. Hi Matt, is it common to no longer cash flow after refinancing during a BRRRR? Does that make it a bad property? Yeah, great question, David. So this is a question a lot of people have when it comes to BRRRRs. When you refinance, do you still cash flow after refinancing? And obviously it depends upon the property and your business model. Now for myself, I'm usually trying to BRRRR at the 1% rule after refinance. So what that means is I'm going to refinance it for $400,000 and hopefully I'm getting about $4,000 a month in gross rents. Now, if that's the case, I'm still going cash flow and cash flow pretty well, likely at least $150, $200 a month per unit. So with that, that's a business model I'm quite happy with. That may be great for you guys, it may be a terrible business model for you. So it really does come down to what you're trying to accomplish as an investor. There are a lot of investors that when they refinance, especially if they're in markets like Hamilton, Durham area, Kitchener-Waterloo these days, when they refinance, they really don't cash flow much, and they're happy with that. If you're happy with that, if that meets your long-term investment goals, then I'm happy for you, and you should be happy too. So it really is a personal preference. You can definitely refinance though and still cash flow, but you can also refinance and not cash flow. Matt has a number of properties he's renovated now put back on the market at ARV value, which would not cash flow now unless you are putting serious money down. So yeah, you should never try and juice your cash flow by increasing your down payment. Unless for some reason that's part of your business model, but it really wouldn't make sense to me, so I would highly discourage you from doing so. A lot of people try and cheat by using their own money, but understand that if you have to use your own money to make your investment deal work, that's what you're doing. You're cheating yourself, you're cheating your money, you're essentially giving your money out for free to yourself. And that's still a bad investment, because when people get money for free, they don't take it as seriously, they don't value it the same way, and you're the same way. So if you're going cheap by using your own money, just know that you're probably going to cut corners that you wouldn't do if you were investing your money into someone else. You'd probably ask them harder questions than you ask yourself. So that's why actually having investors on your projects can be a great thing, because they're going to hold you accountable where you might be willing to cut corners on your own money. While I say that no one cares more about your money than yourself, which is absolutely true, it's also true that we're often willing to let ourselves down, but we wouldn't let a different partner down, or that stakeholder just won't let us let them down. So a little bit of food for thought there. Hey Matt, what's your take on private lending? I guess what I mean is me investing in private lending. Yeah, Eddie, I think that private lending can be a great strategy for true passive income, right? Private lending is a lot simpler than being a landlord, even if you've got a great property manager. And there's a lot less volatility in general there. Obviously, it depends on the type of loans you're investing in, but certainly in general, I think it's very attractive. I know a lot of real estate investors who their long-term goal is build up a net worth of $5 to $10 million and then sell everything and become a private lender and just make 10% interest a year off that. And they just want to make $500,000 to $1 million in interest income, and that'd be that. So that seems to be a lot of people find that an attractive lifestyle. So definitely, I can understand that logic. All right, got a couple questions on IG. At what point do you hire an appraiser to confirm whether a property is a good deal? Navi, depends upon how you're financing, but if you're financing with the traditional lenders in Canada, usually the appraisal is going to be paid by your lender if you're using an A lender. Now, if you're doing commercial real estate and stuff, it's usually during the financing process that we have to pay for a appraisal. It usually at some point in time as part of your financing process, someone's going to need to get an appraisal done. So it's either going to be you paying for it or it's going to be your lender paying for it. So usually you're going to do that before waiving financing conditions because you won't have the financing set up for sure until then. All right, let's see what YouTube's saying. Also, it's awesome that we've got about 30 people on IG and another 50 rocking out on YouTube. Really cool to think that 80 people would want to hang out with me as I smoke weed in my bathroom. I mean, the future. It's pretty cool. Hey Matt, love the videos. Just wondering, what do you think about out-of-province investment? Currently, I'm on the West Coast and prices seem insane. To cash flow versus buying in a province like Saskatchewan or Manitoba. Yeah, I can definitely understand if you live in Vancouver that looking out of province could be attractive. So for me, it really just comes down to, again, the basic question of, do I have a competitive advantage or am I partnering with someone that does? And so I think you can find a lot of local operators across Canada that are constantly looking for capital partners. So if you're looking to be a capital partner, I think it's just a matter of doing due diligence and finding the right JV partner for yourself. If you're looking to invest directly, then it's really just about building a great power team. And in my opinion, your great power team is really going to start with a great realtor. It's going to start with like a great contractor or a property manager or handyman, jack of all trades, someone that's going to be kind of capable of problem solving, being a problem solver for you. So I think, putting together that power team, if you're going to be the direct investor, is important. But hey, we've got Cashflow Tribe members that do it. They live in Vancouver and Victoria area and invest in Windsor, Ontario. And I know investors that have literally never been to the city they invest in. So it's just a matter of building out the systems and processes and getting the right who in place to take care of the what. Hey, what's up, Steve? Appreciate the beard love. Feel like it is coming into its own. Why are you in a tub without water? Because this is actually just a really comfortable spot to chill out. So I do keep I've got a random chair in my bathroom, but that chair is less comfortable than just chilling in the tub. So I kind of like it. So yeah, there's really no good reason for chilling in the tub other than it's just comfortable. Do you still think student rentals are still a good idea since COVID? Hey Clay, I think if you jump back in the video, I talk about that at length, so I won't bore everyone with it again. How much should is the sweet spot for cash flow in your life? Hey Matt, how much should the sweet spot be for cash flow? I think in general, the more cash flow, the better, but usually there at some point in time is a trade-off with the volatility in regards to tenants or vacancy rates or employment rates in that market and things like that. So for me, it's all about fundamentals, guys. So I've really got my own benchmarks and I live by them. And so you really need to find what your own inner investment compass is going to be and just abide by that. Can I suggest an appraisal amount for my appraiser, or would I be wasting my time? So in general, like, appraisers aren't just going to take your opinion, right? So you're going to need to be able to come and hit them with some data. So if you've got comparables, if you've got, maybe letters of opinion from realtors and things of that nature, that might help you. But at the end of the day, it's up to them to come up with their own professional opinion. So you can really only lead the horse to water. You can't make it drink. All right. As a referral on his introduction to the selling agent. Well, I'm not sure if I understand what that means. When you refinance and get enough cash for 20% down payment for next property, how can you qualify for the remaining 80%, especially now that you have a larger loan than before? Great question, Alexandre. So when you're refinancing and you pull out your new equity, if you're at the 1% rule or better, you're probably going to be at a point where your debt service ratio is still pretty solid. So it really comes down to your total debt service ratio and your just debt service ratio on the property. So for your debt service ratio on the property specifically, usually they're going to want to see like around the 30%, 32%, maybe 34%. And then on total debt service ratio, they're often going to want to see it 40% or lower. So if you can have your properties be a net benefit to you, so if they're accretive, if your properties if the cash flow is great enough to make your actual debt service ratio decrease, in theory, you can continue buying properties infinitely. Now, some of the banks, again, will have different rules and regulations around it, but just understand, wherever there's if you want it bad enough, you'll always find a way to solve it. So it's really just about building out your network, getting lots of lenders, and understand too that the big banks, they're retail banks. They're designed for retail investors. Ideally, if we're sophisticated investors, we need other sophisticated solutions for a lot of the properties or projects we take on. Now, sometimes we might refinance out into a more traditional lender like an A bank where we can get the lowest interest rates. But oftentimes, a lot of investors looking to go to the next level hold themselves back by always trying to be the square peg that the big banks want them to be, rather than going and finding other lenders that are going to help them succeed. So, there you go. How much does being cash flow positive play into appraisal value coming in higher? Unless we're talking about a large multifamily property, and we're talking about it having like a really good cap rate, and depending where cap rates are in the other markets and stuff, or really good cash flow compared to other properties, and that resulting in a higher valuation based upon cap. In general, cash flow isn't a huge factor, but like the gross rents the property is commanding will be taken into consideration when using the income-based approach. Now, a lot of appraisers are going to be approaching your property and evaluating it on three bases. One is replacement cost, one is going to be comparable sales, and then one's going to be like an income-based approach. So again, they're usually going to use the lower of those three. So if your income-based approach ends up valuing the property high, then it might be comparable sales or replacement value that pulls down the evaluation on the property. Jesse's asking, am I liquidating my portfolio right now? Do I think it makes sense to sit on cash? I think it really depends on what stage you are as an investor. Right now, I am looking at selling a chunk of my portfolio, but mainly because I just want to move on to bigger buildings. So recently, I started up a new company with Jeff Weibel and some other partners, and we're buying small apartment buildings. And so we're kind of buying anything 12 units and above. And in the last 9 months or so, we've acquired about 70 units in that entity. That to me is a more scalable business process than managing like my duplexes and student rentals right now. So right now I'm just in the process of selling those off to my JV partners and just trying to do like win-wins there. But so I'm both selling and buying, and probably for the rest of my life I'll always be buying and always be selling. Because like I'm just in the game of making money. And real estate's one of the ways to go about making money. And really making money in a capitalist society is just about creating value. And so I'm just in the business of creating value. All right, what else is going on? YouTube. Free advice this Monday. Would love to learn more about your business and my question above. Let me see if I can find it, Andrew. Where in Canada would you suggest is a good area to do a flip or a BRRRR? I'm considering Windsor. Yeah, I think Windsor's a great market, man. When you refinance and get enough cash. Oh, I already answered that question. I think I answered all these questions. Do I know any lenders that would be willing to loan on 95% loan to value, aka 5% down? I know some expensive private lenders that might consider it, but realistically, it's probably more likely that you could get 95% loan to purchase price, which would result if you're buying with built-in equity and you can get appraised higher and you can get an overall lower loan to value based upon appraisal. That's probably more accomplishable than necessarily doing a 95% loan to value. Another option is do like an 80% first place and then get like a second place 15% VTB. Again, that's going to be more likely to get done than say just a straight up 95% LTV, unless you're getting an insured mortgage, right, with CMHC or Genworth or whatever, Continuity, or whoever the third company is. All right, guys, what else is going on? Ever have a contractor run off with your money? Yeah, I've definitely been screwed over by contractors before. Never been burned for a ton of money, thankfully, so happy about that. But definitely been burned before. If you're in this business long enough, you're going to get burned by a contractor at some point. Yeah, if you get a private mortgage, it'll still be registered so the bank can find out about it. Matt, what is financial freedom to you? So financial freedom to me is really just being in a position where, you can maintain a certain standard of living that you'd be happy with for the rest of your life. So for me, I'm very low needs, very low wants. So my lean fire number is like $2,000-$3,000 a month. $2,000 or $3,000 a month with a free apartment is like ideal for me. Like I'm living easy. And I'd be happy to live that lifestyle for the rest of my life. So that to me is kind of like my financial freedom number. And again, very simple, so very easy to accomplish it. That's not going to fit for everyone because they're going to have different needs and wants and lifestyles and things of that nature. But to me, it's all about building a financial fortress of solitude. So you guys know how Superman had that ice castle thing, his fortress of solitude. Well, I think all of us need to build our own financial fortress of solitude. They can just kind of insulate and protect us and give us that sense of safety and resiliency and really just solve all the basic needs on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you can achieve that, and for a lot of us, it's not that much. It's probably somewhere between $500,000 and $2 million in cash or investable assets, and you'd probably be there. But all of a sudden, you're going to start experiencing life and viewing just a lot of different things and through a different lens. And you're going to really understand and see that now you're in the driver's seat, you're in control. So these days, I'm in complete control of who Matt McKeever is and what he does. Now, it doesn't mean I always make the most of this time. I sometimes squander it and waste it and things of that nature. But almost everything I choose is an active choice of mine. Life rarely happens to me now, and I'm almost always happening to life. So, for example, I am actively choosing to just like hang out with you guys and smoke weed and be here. And I believe that that's both good for me. It like helps me speak in public a little bit more. It also builds my brand. It hopefully provides value to the audience. It gives me an idea of where, in general, my audience's headspace is, and it hopefully builds a deeper relationship because it's more of an ask me anything and just kind of a more open experience than say like a curated YouTube video. But for me, it's really important these days that I always be in the driver's seat. And the only reason I can be in the driver's seat is because of that financial fortress of solitude. So that to me is why it's so important that everyone go and get their financial freedom. Go get it. Let's see your back porch of your house. That's a weird request. I'm on the second floor, so that's not happening. But we don't have a back porch. Appreciate that, Steve. 2,000 to $3,000 a month, Cody, is what I was talking about. I'm not sure if you think that why that's insane, but I think it's pretty normal. I honestly don't even know what my monthly gross from my rentals would be, man. It's a lot. It'd be six figures. But like, again, those are just arbitrary numbers that don't really have any real meaning. You don't like RSP, don't you? RSP is just an investment vehicle. It really depends on what are you doing with that RSP. To me, that's, it can be great as a private lending tool. I think you can do some really interesting things with the TFSA Maximizer with an RSP first place mortgage and a TFSA second place mortgage. I think that shit's cool. I think if you build up a business and pay yourself dividends and then stash most of your cash in an RSP otherwise, that's a really cool way to tax plan. An investment vehicle is just an investment vehicle. I don't have an emotional attachment to RSPs. Yeah, man, $24,000, $36,000 a month or a year. If you can't live a good life off of that, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion. What do I think about investing in condos? Chrissy, I just don't think that I'm in enough control with investing in condos, so I don't like it. Investing for me is all about control. So what I'm really focused on doing with my real estate is having that influence over it. So we can pivot if things aren't going right. I can Airbnb it, try and maximize rents, but Airbnb is not going well, then I can pivot and rent it out normally. If that's not going well, I can do this, I can do that, I can move in and house hack. Where with condos, usually there's less control for me. But again, it depends on what we're talking about. Often when people are asking me about condo investments, they're talking about Toronto condo investments, and they're often talking about like pre-build or contracts for condos, and that's where I really don't like it, because a lot of those contracts are written in such a way where we as an investor don't have a lot of rights, and the builder does, or the developer does. So yeah, I should probably just make a series of videos on that, because I feel like I talk about that a lot on live streams. Do you think becoming a mortgage broker is a good career path for someone looking to get into real estate circle but doesn't want to go to uni college? Yeah, I think that becoming a mortgage broker can be a good career path. I think, again, it's what you make of it. So if you decide to become a mortgage broker, I would encourage you to get good at sales. One, because it's going to make you make some money, and two, because that's a great skill set that is very portable that you can take to all sorts of different aspects of life. I just realized that I had to restart my Instagram live, so we've actually been going for over an hour. appreciate everyone hanging out for the last hour while I smoke weed and do my thing. Hope you guys had fun hanging out with me on another Monday night. Reminder, we do this every Monday night at 9:20 Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to hanging out with you guys next Monday if you're free. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. I got other things to do, but again, really appreciate the fact that right this second, there's 74 people watching me. So that is super cool. You guys all rock. Appreciate the love. And also, don't be afraid to just go, leave a comment on the occasional YouTube video. It really does mean a lot to me and the team, so we always appreciate that. Smash the like button, all that good stuff. All right, stay safe, don't get infected. I'll see you on the next video. And go check out Cashflow Tribe if you haven't done so. All right, bye Instagram. And thank you, YouTube. You guys are the best. 23 likes though and 43 watching. Feel like I should be able to get a few more likes, so smash that like if you haven't done it. Otherwise, see you on the next video.